Awesome. Thank you so much, Courtney. And thank you everyone for joining us today. I do, just before we dive in, want to give some quick introductions for those of you that don't know us. I'm going to first pass the baton to Julie and then over to Leah, and then I'll introduce myself. So Julie, if you don't mind giving a quick intro.
Sure. Hi, everybody, and welcome. Today, I'm Julie Donaldson, and I'm a director of our solution engineering team at Oracle. And as you can see, I'm in the DMV area, Maryland. Welcome.
And
Thanks,
Leah?
Julie. Hi. Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Leah McTiernan, GVP of pre-sales at DocuSign. I'm in the Philly area and been leading pre-sales at DocuSign for over 10 years now. Really excited to be here today.
Thank you so much. And I'm so honored to be joined here today with Julie and Leah. I am the current chair of WISE at PreSales Collective. Julie is our past chair. I've served on the WISE Council for a long time with both Julie and Leah, and it's just such an honor to be here with both of you. I currently lead the pre-sales engineering team at CData Software, located in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. So today, what we wanted to share with all of you was we wanted to talk a little bit about our careers, the things that have helped us, both tools and habits and best practices. And please do feel free to put any questions for the panel in the chat as well as we go through today's conversation. Really excited to learn from each other today. And I'm going to start with actually tools. Can you share what tools or systems that you rely on to stay organized and productive? And Leah, we can start with you. What are the types of things that you rely on?
Yeah. Well, my number one tool is still pen and paper. I don't know how old that might make me, but I think I'm just a diehard of, creating the lists. It's the formula that's worked for me. I'll date myself by saying since the 90s, since I've been in software. Nothing beats the satisfaction for me of just crossing the items off the list. So that's one. I mean, I have it right next to me. It just works. Second, I would say is Slack. I mean, I live in Slack all day long. A lot of our go-to-market at DocuSign is powered by Slack, integrated to Salesforce. So also in Salesforce, extensively, like many pre-sales and salespeople. We use Vivin, which is an add-on to Salesforce to manage our pre-sales organization. So that is another tool that I'm in quite a bit. And then lastly, I would say Google. We made the shift to Google Workspace. So in all of their productivity and office solutions, the one I'm probably the biggest fan of is their BI solution Looker. We've started to use Looker to visualize a lot of our data and analytics, in addition, or augmenting the views that we get in Salesforce. And it's been fantastic.
Thanks, Leah. And I'll just say the pen and paper thing, by the way, which I'll talk about that in a second. When you cross off on your checklist, that gives you a dopamine hit. So a nice little science fact there.
Good to know. I didn't know that.
That's probably why you like
sense.
it so much. Yes, exactly. Okay, Julie, I'll turn to you next.
Hi, everybody. So I used to be pen and paper. I still take notes in pen or paper, but how many people have this? And a cell phone, like you can't see it, but cell phone. Okay. So I have the iPhone. So I use notes in my iPhone for everything now. And if I go to the grocery store, it's in there, anything that I have to do for a trip or anything I have to do for the day. And as I do stuff, I delete it. So whenever that specific note is gone, then I know I've done everything I needed to do. And I use this all the time, my notes. I use it all the time. I use it if I'm at demos taking notes that I want to remember to give feedback on or anything like that. I use my iPhone. And instead of writing it down, it's just so much easier to go back to. And so it's quasi pen and paper, but typing on the phone now, which all of us have. And at Oracle, we did roll out Slack a couple of years ago. So we are users of Slack. We're still learning it. And so we do use it for a lot of our communication for opportunities we're working on. as well as internal, like Oracle. All of our IT support is through Slack now. So if we have an issue, we just log it through Slack. So we have standardized a lot of our tools on Slack as well. And I think there's a lot more we can do within Slack. So those, and then the final thing is our handy dandy email. Or in email all day. I put DND on a lot, like I don't want to be disturbed a lot, but that's okay. But getting through your email list for the day, if I've gotten through all my emails for the day, I consider that a success. So, you know, just making sure I stay on top of that and not getting behind.
You're an inbox zero person. That's very admirable, Julie.
Yeah, it doesn't ever happen.
I think that's the state I strive towards. Well, thanks for bringing up the cell phone. I'll just ask our audience here, if you're willing to share in the chat, if you have a favorite productivity app or what you use on a mobile device, just share it with us so we can all learn from you. Yes, I'm also a notes person, Julie, as well, because the pen and paper or the notes basically is when I'm, you know, awake late at night and I've got the list, like the to-do list running in my head, or I'm out running around. I just need to get it out of my head and written down so I can stop ruminating on it and move on. And then from there, I will then move it where I need to move it, whether it's a task in Outlook or Salesforce or something like that. I will also say I have had a back and forth love relationship with Trello. And for anyone, so that's really more like project management, tracking, and that I've used that both personally and professionally back and forth over the last several years. It's something I found early in the pandemic. I like their app on my phone too, and of course Salesforce. I will also say I just personally also rely on not only my work calendar, but my Google Calendar. So not only do I volunteer with WISE, but I also serve on 2 nonprofit boards. And I relentlessly am in my Google Calendar as well, making sure everything is all aligned. I still don't have a great way to integrate my work and my personal calendars, other than I'm just adding everything to both calendars a lot of times. But I do rely on that as well to keep my family updated, my kids updated, things like that. I've also used the Cozy app to help with family organization and make sure kids are on the right spot at the right times, and, you know, have a driver and all of those things. I also will just call it my last productivity hack for myself. My real MVP is Spotify. Let me get real. I don't get anything done unless I have that music going to help me get through when I'm on Do Not Disturb and I'm trying to get in that deep focus. I've got my music going. And then at the end of the year, I'm always surprised by how much I've listened to Spotify over the course of the year. That's awesome. That's great. Okay.
Question.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Who your top artist is?
Oh, my top artist. Wow, that's going to change from time to time. I will say this year it was a lot of Death Cab for Cutie and the Postal Service, because they came here in April, and I was so excited after 20 years of listening to them to finally get to see them live. So we'll see what my top artist comes up. Maybe we'll do like a poll on LinkedIn at the end of the year. I'll let you know where Spotify landed. Yeah, Taylor Swift sneaks in there.
Yeah, she does.
Confuse the algorithm.
She was my top artist because I got to go see her in Scotland this year. So,
Julie,
she was my top artist for a couple months because I had to learn and get ready.
That's really great. That's really great. I love that. I love that. Oh, that's awesome. And thanks for the comment here on HubSpot as well. You mentioned LinkedIn too. Yeah, I'm in LinkedIn probably every day. I think Julie and Leah, I see you on there a lot too. So yes, that's certainly one way. Yeah.
I feel like I go through phases with LinkedIn where I'm in it all the time, and then I'm not for whatever reason.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I view it as an important part of the job. I know we're going to talk about networking coming up, but like absolutely, it's a phenomenal app.
Oh, that's very cool. Oh, I'm just scrolling now through the chats as well. The screenshot suggestion, I think that's brilliant. That's when I learned as an SE, right? It was like, ooh, that actually is really great. So I appreciate those tips on the tools there. And then Blinkist as well. That's a really great advice about the business books. I have like lofty goals of all the books I want to read. And my to-read list is quite long. I will have to check that out. I think that's a great idea. Thanks for sharing that one. Very cool. Okay. Well, next, let's talk about what the buzzword I hear that comes up in a lot of conversations these days is AI, right? We see it everywhere, but certainly it's been in conversations around pre-sales now a lot this year. So AI has certainly been an emerging technology for us. Can you share how you've been utilizing AI and how do you see AI changing pre-sales in the next 5 to 10 years? And I'll open that up, whoever wants to jump in first there.
I'll let Leah go first.
Yeah,
She's
I'll
the
go
one that's
first. Yeah,
really
yeah,
a
yeah,
challenge.
yeah.
She's been using it a lot.
Yeah, no, I think we really have embraced using AI in our organization and more specifically like OpenAI, APIs, GPT architecture. I'll be honest, I've been super curious from the beginning, but I have some just absolutely phenomenal people on my team. And I'll shout out Angel Hernandez as one of them that, we to see ideation of what we may be able to do actually get delivered into solutions has been phenomenal. And I think, not to answer your last question first, but where we see this going in terms of like the future of pre-sales is really allowing us to automate those lower value tasks to allow us to have and open up and free up time to work on the higher value, more strategic consultative work. So I'm really motivated and excited. Just to bring it to life, I can share a few things that we've been able to do at DocuSign. One is we have something we call the Genius Bar, which is essentially a COE powered by Slack. It started for SE engagement, integrated to Salesforce. So again, no AI there. But then as we started to see the fact that we were getting such a high adoption rate, we started to add in different workflows. So we have, for example, a workflow for creating a self-service business case. So my team or sellers can come in and put in just high-level information about the company, and it's going to be able to go out and it's going to leverage GPT, understand the company, their competitors, their 10K, their initiatives, and it's going to integrate that information into with Google APIs to actually build a deck for them, right? So that's a starting point to do that account research, married with leveraging the right internal content at DocuSign and create a deck that's pretty powerful. And Slackbot just you put in the information and it returns it to you. We also use deal guidance. So if and again, everyone in the world's a customer for us. So some of our deals move very quick and may not warrant a solution consultant, but someone could be on the phone. And we've now been able to create essentially like a deal guidance Genius Bar where reps can ask questions. And again, leveraging GPT married with like our own internal processes will like auto respond to those questions. And if the auto response doesn't work, we have a clean button, and then someone could come in and immediately help, hopefully, that rep support their customer. So very much velocity motions. Another solution that we've created, also integrated into Slack. This is more, I would say, at the top of the funnel, like qualifying. We call it the AI briefing creator, where literally you can just come in, and we've structured it, how we want it to be formatted, but you put in the name of the company and the language you want. And it knows that when you're using this tool, it's an initial conversation for the customer. So again, it takes a lot of that data. It's like, essentially writes your talk track for you and the questions that you should ask. And so again, it's a lot of that upfront work that might take an hour or two today, and you can do it in seconds. Another one is industry benchmark reporting. So again, it's a lot of the same themes, right? Being able to go out, understand the company, leverage that with like our internal Snowflake usage data to generate peer comparisons, and essentially like auto white space for us, like where we see the opportunities, and then build this into an industry point of view. So it's kind of this marrying together of data that it frees up that lower level administrative time to sort of focus on, okay, what's our win strategy? Like, what are the points I want to land to set my competition up? And we have, you know, that's the work that we want to be focused on. And then the last one I'll mention, sorry, and this one is really exciting as someone who, you know, proposal management at DocuSign rolls up through pre-sales. We've created an RFX analyzer. So it's an AI tool that we trained with all of our competitors' RFP responses. And obviously, like our, you know, all of our, we actually integrated Loop, we use Loopio. And we can upload the RFP in any format, Excel, Word, PDF, and it will go through and it will actually assess, you know, essentially score our probability to win. But it takes each section and it shows us like where we have a high fit or not, but it also gives us compete scores. So if it's a competitor's template or we see high probability for a competitor, it helps us identify who we could be competing against or who we may need to be you know, worried about in that sales motion, and do we even want to qualify and go after this one?
Yeah. Leah, I love hearing about what you all have built. I think this is fascinating. I feel like we've just started thinking about using AI for account research. So I'm very impressed by everything you've built. Plus, like, what a dream to think about for RFPs, right? Like, I'm just thinking through the security questionnaire I just went through this week, where I was like, wow, that would have been really nice to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally agree. I think that's fascinating. So I just wanted to add, like, for me, one way that I started using it as a leader, you know, I run the global business and it's gotten pretty busy. And so I'm trying to figure out how I can become more efficient. And we went through a pretty fast hiring period recently. We hired our new CRO, and then we did a lot of hiring like quickly after that. And I started using it to write job descriptions to help me fine tune my job descriptions, and then also with interview questions. When we were interviewing so many roles across our go-to-market team, I all of a sudden found myself, well, not only am I interviewing customer success, but I'm also interviewing account managers and account executives and sales development. And it was like, you know, how do I make sure I'm, you know, answering or asking the right questions of these people? So I love also that you added in like the discovery questions. What are the right questions I need to be asking? I think that's also a great thing to be thinking about. And then in terms of emerging technologies, I think the demo automation space is a fascinating one to watch right now, right? When I think about, like you said, like, what are those things that we spend a lot of time on where we can become more efficient? And I think a lot of that is in our demo preparation and and maintaining our demo environments. We spend so much time doing that. So I think it's going to be really fun watching how that space continues to grow and evolve.
100%. Yeah, couldn't agree more. And it is. I mean, I didn't even bring this up, but personally, like how much I use like ChatGPT just to like hone talk tracks, emails, like become more succinct. And you know, if you have 4 bullets you need to put on a slide, like, you know, it's unbelievable how powerful and honestly well it works.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Oh, and there's some great comments in the chat as well. Around Perplexity AI and SteerLab AI. So definitely check those out. Thank you so much for making those recommendations. I think that's awesome. Well, so there's a question in the chat as well. What demo automation tools are out there that are being used? Yeah, I mean, so I think there's a lot in the space.
There is a lot out there.
And I think, have we done one at PreSales Collective on this very topic?
Yeah, I mean,
I think we have. Yeah.
I'll look and see if
we want to start
I can find
that. Calling out names, but yeah, there's a lot.
Right, exactly. There's a lot out there. And if anyone in the audience is using any of the demo automation tools, please feel free to put it in the chat. We'd love to hear what you're using and how it's going for you. Like for us at CData, we're just at the beginning phases of considering demo automation tools and like what we're going to do. And yeah, so we're just starting that process. I mean, again, when I joined the team 2 years ago, we didn't really have anything pre-sales. So, we started it from scratch and have been growing from there. So it's a lot of, but anyway, to me, I think that's the space to watch for pre-sales.
Yeah, and I'd be
It
curious, it's
is.
kind of interesting with our companies, right? Like maybe like small, medium, large, like Julie being at Oracle. Because
Yeah.
like we have a demo engineering team, it's small and mighty. We've evaluated some of the solutions out there. And I don't think we've seen, based on like what we're doing internally, like there hasn't been enough of a value lift for us to make an investment yet. But we're definitely keeping an eye on it. Julie, I don't know what you guys are doing at Oracle. I imagine
Yeah, we have a
maybe
whole team.
that's
We
what
have a whole
okay, yeah.
team that keeps our demo master up to date
Yeah.
and that we leverage them. And so we have everything already. We have to, of course, I'm in a small piece that I'm state and local government at Oracle, which is heavy RFP. So I'm so curious about your RFP
Oh yeah.
analyzer to win. However, being at Oracle, a big company, we use our tools, right? We don't use ChatGPT. We don't use any of the stuff that you have that you go out and access to Google and Genius and stuff like that. We do Slack, but we use our products internally, and we have a lot of AI embedded into our applications, and they're rolling out internally, like for performance reviews, for job postings, for recruiting and reaching out to people based on the types of needs and the applications we use, our customers use too. So we're heavily into selling AI and the advantages of AI within our products. But from a tool perspective, from my perspective, internally, that's what I do from some of the, leveraging the internal tools that we have already embedded in our applications. And that we also sell. So, but I'm curious. I know we are also working, a team is, we have a huge team that supports us for proposals, and they are working on a new application that they're going to roll out to help us respond to RFPs. So we don't have to manually do it, to automate that process. And they have AI embedded in there. So I'm curious. I can't wait to see what comes rolling out there to help us from that perspective, because we are heavy RFP process. And the amount of time we spend on RFPs is going to be tremendous. So I see that coming as well. So I see a lot of things helping us in the future, even with an Oracle, a big company, leveraging the tools, because we have all the tools too, and that we'll use. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah. We just bought Conveyor, which is a GPT platform. It doesn't, not for proposals, but for security responses. So we haven't implemented it yet. So it's gonna be interesting to see the lift that will have. And we have Lupio on the proposal side. So what we created kind of sits on top of that, just to give us like a, very fast snapshot of like probability to win from a scoring perspective, and like kind of competitive analysis. Yeah. I mean, we can meet in 6 months and it's like a whole new,
we have all the data.
Exactly.
I have all the data. I just would love something to do it. And so another thing we're doing that I'm doing specifically at Oracle is, our volume is huge in state and local government. Our team is consistently working on 5 or 7 RFPs and doing 5, 7 demos at any specific time. So, we used to manage all that activity via spreadsheet. And that got cumbersome because people couldn't get reports of like the volume, like how, what's everybody working on, or what's the workload like for the next 2 months, and specifically by products, by region and things like that. So we leverage one of our low code products within Oracle, Apex, which anybody that knows the Oracle database knows Apex. Great low code tool to build what we call our activity tracker, that we now have all the workload loaded into this tracker. And what's great about it is we have dashboards and things like that, but we are really going to leverage AI moving forward into the future to help us predict what the workload capability is going to be. If we worked on 10 RFPs at any particular time, what's the potential conflicts that we could have in the next 6 weeks for down selects? So we're currently evaluating that perspective for predictive analytics and predictive using AI to help us predict the future of the workload and
That's
it's going to
really
also help
cool.
us get headcount. Hopefully,
Yeah.
you know, if we need headcount based on the workload that we currently have, it's going to help with that as well.
Yep.
So we're excited about that moving forward as well.
That's the SE leader's dream, Julie.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
It is. Everybody loves it, and we've rolled it out
That is so
among
cool.
all
Well,
all regulated uses
yeah.
it now. We'll see about the rest of Oracle, but
Oh, that's really cool. Well, we have a great question. I'll open it up to the group here. What methodologies or safety mechanisms do you have in place to measure the accuracy, efficiency of the AI tools that you're leveraging?
I can jump in and take that one.
Mhm.
So in terms of safety, I mean, we have to run everything through our internal IT department. We call it DTS. So again, we're trying to drive innovative solutions and pre-sales, but we're not, one thing, I am very big on with the team is like we always have to tie back to corporate best practices, policies, guardrails. We're huge on, obviously trust. Our business runs on trust. So, we're in lockstep with everything we do, we're in lockstep with our IT department from that perspective. In terms of just efficiency and of how we're using our tools, for us, it really comes down to, the productivity lift that we're getting from them. Like if we're putting out all these solutions and no one's using it, that's not necessarily a win for us. So, and we're still kind of honing this, but we've developed as we were kind of having, moving pretty quick, having some thought leaders in the organization, really roll up their sleeves and start to innovate with AI. We realized, estimating here, right? 2/3 of what we were putting out was awesome, and like a third was really cool, but like no one was using it. So
Yeah.
it wasn't really driving the efficiency or productivity. So we have started to get laser focused on for everything, every solution we own, we watch the adoption, the usage and adoption of it. And then we've come up, and again, we do this, when we, with IT of like, hey, this is a task like before that took X amount of hours or minutes, and with the solution, it takes, Y. So we're trying to come up with productivity ROI around that to help manage the efficiency. Yeah.
And from a security perspective, I'll speak from our standpoint. In fact, because of Oracle, we leverage Oracle, right? We don't use ChatGPT, we use Oracle AI. We have AI embedded in our application, so it's very secure, meaning that we use our own security platform because we are not leveraging third-party products per se, except we do leverage Cohere for our large language model, but it's all run through Oracle, so we don't really have, we do all the security internally to manage it, so we don't necessarily have to leverage, worry about the security of any of the other applications that can be leveraged, which is something that's good for us because we're so big, like we're a big company, right? Compared to that, just shows you the difference of the different capabilities you have based on the size of your company and things like that. So, something to think about, depending on how big your company is, medium size, you're going to have rules and regulations based on your IT department, right? Like Leah said.
Yeah.
So.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we just added an AI policy into our employee handbook that everyone has to sign every year, right? That was new, and also asking like, please do not put any confidential information into ChatGPT, right? Because all that information is then being used to train for everything else. But a good question here about the ROI. How do you measure the ROI of AI tools?
Yeah, I mean, I'll respond for myself and probably say, honestly, it's still a work in progress. Again, we're kind of, I think, foundationally, like we're all sharing, like there's a massive productivity lift here and being able to save hours of time. We do have some of like that industry benchmark report, for example, like we look at that as that's a strategic asset. And so when we develop one of those, you have to map it to an account or opportunity. And so we're able to track like win rates, deal size, probability to close. So we're starting, and we use Vivint for this as well, starting to pattern as we see, some of these AI generated assets getting applied to deals, how much is it growing the deal, increasing our chance to win, and so on. But I wouldn't say we have it perfectly figured out yet.
Yeah,
either.
and I think it's so new, like
Yeah.
you can, if it's embedded in the like an HR application, you can manage that ROI easily, how you're recruiting faster,
Yeah.
you're turning around, finding the right headcount based on the types of things you're looking for. But from a sales, pre-sales tools, that's all new, right?
Yeah,
It's going to be based on what
100%.
you're going to measure eventually, like how fast you were able to do stuff, were you able to do things with reduced amount of people, that
Yeah.
it's also new that eventually you'll be able to
Well,
get
that one I
those
would say,
measurements.
like from an efficiency, like the Genius Bar, for example, I mentioned, like we have
Yeah.
seen, we have been able to scale our ratios because of that.
And that's great. See, that's great. Yeah, to be able to have
But it is
those
still, it's very, it's
reports.
definitely still early. Yeah.
A year from now, we can talk about
I know, this is gonna be like
on AI,
I was
on
gonna say, I
SE
mean,
tool, as solution engineering tools and procedures.
I think it will be interesting to have this conversation again next year, right? To see even what's
Mhm.
progressed in our space, in the tech in general for AI, right? Because again, you're seeing this everywhere. It's impacting everyone. And to Leah's point earlier, right? If you're offloading some of the lower value activities and letting your SEs really bring their value for our customers. And then what I've been thinking about is how can we help them be more efficient so they can touch more customers. I mean, my team this year has already worked like 500 more customers than we worked all of 2023. Like it's just an impressive amount of volume that my team is hitting. And then, we're continually challenging ourselves to do more and more. And that's exactly how we do it, is by being more efficient. Well, so actually, if I can shift gears a little bit here, speaking of efficiency, the number one complaint I hear from SEs is time. I don't have enough time in the day, right? I really want my team to have that dreamed of work-life balance. I want them to be able to be with their family and friends and have their hobbies and things like that. So let's talk about our best ideas for time management and how do you approach it? I mean, you're both busy leaders in this space. And how do you do as much as you do in your day?
Yeah, I can speak first. I mean, from my perspective, I block time 100%. I'm a firm believer in a work-life balance. I always have been, and I really make sure as a manager, I want the team to have a great work-life balance. And so a couple things I do is I block time. I take vacations, and I think I take 2-week vacations, 2.5-week vacations. And as a director, that's a long time being away. So a couple things to be able to do is that you're showing the team that it's okay to take vacations, right? And to take the time you need to do what you want to do. And it's really important, in my opinion, to do that, to be able to have the right people on your team. Like people have to you have to be able to delegate. And I think some people, struggle with delegation. And to me, it's easy, like do it, right? You have people that want to grow, right? Take that vacation and delegate. As a manager, if people want to take vacations, we make sure that we're like, okay, take it. And we make sure we have it covered so that, it's time for you to take a vacation, then you'll cover for somebody else. So I really instill that amongst the team and make sure that, if your days are getting too long or your night, your weeks are getting too long, talk about it, let's balance it out. And, because I mean, it's something that I feel very strongly about. Block time in your calendar for a walk during the middle of the day, block time in your calendar and turn your phone on DND. All that kind of stuff really, really helps. And just as a leader to enforce it amongst your team, to have that work-life balance is a very important aspect, I think.
And Leah, what about for you?
Yeah, I mean, so huge +1 on the time blocking,
Yeah.
100%. I mean, I think like, yeah, you've got to figure that out. And also on the delegating, like I look at that as like, that's a way you can even help develop your team, right? Like you're
Right.
giving people an opportunity, to take on work they may not normally take on, whether it's, to work on a project or cover if you're, taking an extended vacation. And I usually I try to keep this in my brain. It doesn't always work, but like kind of like a 3-step process of like, if something comes in just in terms of time management, can I like respond? Can I knock it out like quickly? Like,
Yeah.
then I'll like take it down. Second is, can I delegate this one? Is this good
Yeah.
for someone else? Do I need to really work on this one, or can I give it to someone else? And then the third bucket is usually around like, okay, this is something more strategic. I need time to work on it, think about it. And that's where maybe I will use a time block for that. It's like, all right, I need to focus, and this is something I need to roll up my sleeves and work on. So that's kind of my 3-prong
Yeah,
approach.
that's good.
Yeah,
Because
that's really
how
good.
many people on the call like check their email before they go to bed? It's the worst thing to do, and I still do
Right.
it. And then I feel like I have to respond. I don't want to do
Right.
that. And
Right.
I'm sure a lot of people do that,
Right.
right? Check their email before they go to
And
bed.
I try to show my leaders that I'm not responding in the middle of the night, right?
Right.
Because I don't want to set the expectation that they're doing that. So I will use like schedule send, right, on emails. I will do that if I really feel like I have to do it, because I do like to work Sunday afternoons just a couple hours to get organized. It's not the best habit, but hey, I stopped working Saturdays, so like that's a win. But time blocking, I want to talk a little bit more about that. So I feel so strongly, I've had so much success when I introduce that into my life to be able to do all the things I want to do. You heard the volunteer work I like to do. I have to be able to make the time for it. So I schedule blocks of time for everything in my life, and that includes the self-care. So Julie, you mentioned like going on a walk,
Mhm.
blocking that time to be able to go to the gym. Or I had a really good meditation habit last year that I need to get back into, but I somehow decided to start doing 6:30 a.m. CrossFit this year. So that's replaced my meditation with a really heavy, intense workout before work. But you know what? It's great. I also believe in scheduling the time for your hobbies, for your friends, for your family. Like getting it on the calendar holds me accountable. Now, I will also say, we've talked about this in other meetings, relentless prioritization, right? Every day in pre-sales, your priorities are going to be different.
Mhm.
It's just what happens. It's the nature of the job. But those time blocks, I don't delete them. I move them. Like my priorities might have changed, but that task still needs to get done. But I also agree with Leah. Those things that are small that like I feel like if I just do it right now, I'll get it done and it'll be off my
Yeah.
list. So absolutely think that's great. I actually also have spent time coaching my SEs on time blocking. Now, I know that technique doesn't work for everyone, but I show them what I do and I talk about it with them. And I want them to also come to me, like Julie said, if they are underwater for too long, I need to know. I need to know so I can help juggle, so we can like move some of the things off their plate. And delegation is hard. So there is a question in the chat around delegating. I'll just read out loud. And I'll come back to the question about KPIs in a little bit. When it comes to delegating, what is your decision-making process on what you will delegate to someone else and what you will take ownership for you to deliver hands-on?
So for me, I can jump in on that one.
Yeah.
I mean, some of it's a gut feel, right? Like, hey, I think this would be a good growth or learning opportunity for X. Or if
Mhm.
you want, like, there's some of that. Here's someone I want to push, I want to challenge. If it's a piece or body of work or something that's going to go up above my management line, like I will absolutely take it and work on it. If it's something that's more for the org or another team, that starts to become a more interesting delegation task.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do the
I
same thing. I
okay.
mean, really, for me, I think I firmly believe in it. And I had mentors that did that, my managers and things that did that. So I learned through my career growth to do it. So it's real easy for me. I do the same thing as Leah. Like I think about before I take it on, think about, those things. Who is this for? What's the end result want to be? And is there somebody that is capable of taking this on before doing it? And give the people the opportunities. They want to do it. They might not even have the ability to do it at the time because they're busy with revenue ops, or especially if it's a project, right? So, just, it's so easy to not do it, and it's so easy to do it, right? So there's both aspects of it, and you have to just think about it and make the right choice.
Yeah. There's a comment in the chat around, would this other person or someone else find this a helpful developmental exercise? So I do also try to think about, how am I developing my leaders or my ICs, and is this appropriate for them with or without my help? But another question that comes to my mind as well, I had a mentor share this with me years and years ago, and it's always stuck with me, is I never want to ask my team to do something I wouldn't do.
Right.
And so if it's something that is like that uncomfortable for me, then that means I'm probably going to be the one to do it. Right. That's why I'm in this seat, to do that. But yeah, that has helped guide me in my delegation. If it's something I wouldn't want to do, I'm not going to ask someone else to do it.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Love it. Okay, well, we did get some questions in the chat around KPIs. So why don't we go ahead and talk about that? Could you share some of the metrics or KPIs that are used to measure the people on your team, such as number of demos, quality of demos, RFPs completed, and there's more in the conversation here around win rates. Anyway, so let's just talk about that as leaders. Like, what are the types of things you look at?
Well, I look at all of those as you specified out there, but from my perspective, I think a little bit deeper. Like I can report on prep versus demo time, right? One of the things I'd like to measure is the demo time, spending more time on demos and less time on prep is something that I like to measure and be able, we try and, bring into, think of ways that we can do that, whether it's getting stuff into the demo master or to reduce our prep time and to reduce the amount of work that we have to do. So that's something we measure as well, and try and improve upon every single year, every single quarter if we can. Also, we do travel lots, of that we have to take that into consideration. For whatever reason, after COVID, state and local decided they want to do everything in person. So we are heavy back in person travelers again. We're back to pre-COVID travel capability. So that takes time too. So we have to make sure that we manage that as well into the workload and manage them from a KPI perspective as well. But so I do like to take the reports and figure out what we can improve upon. Are we spending less time on discovery? To me, discovery is very important. And if we're not, we're spending more time having to do 5 demos. And if we would have done discovery, we might not have had to do 5 demos for a customer. So I measure that as well, which is huge. Also, to take those 5 demos, what if we did discovery and did 5 demos is another measurement I look at, is like, why? What made us have to do 5 demos? Is there something we could have changed by not having to do the 5 demos and just doing 1? It could have been that we didn't have the right people in the room. Well, why not? Or we didn't get all the information we needed from prep. Why not? So we take those into consideration too. So those are some of the deeper things I measure besides what you had mentioned in the chat.
Yeah. Those are all good. Yeah, I'll jump in. I'll say in our business, it's funny because my past job was at IBM and the metrics there were a little bit different. And DocuSign, is, again, it's unique in that what we sell, everyone's a customer, but we also have much more sophisticated solutions like our intelligent agreement management. And so we really shifted from the way we look at the business post implementing Vivin, where it's allowed us, and everything's logged in Salesforce. everyone has to log every hour of their day. So we get very strong utilization metrics.
Mhm.
And I would
APR.
say
Yeah.
the top, yeah, like the top things I look at are more from like a revenue perspective, right? Like if we're attached to the deal, because at IBM, SCs worked every single opportunity. There was no world where we didn't work a deal. And here it's a little different because sometimes we don't want to work every deal, right? We don't necessarily have to because it doesn't help the cost of sale, or it's too small, or it should be able to get taken down without us. So when we're attached to the deal, what is the revenue impact we're having, the win rate impact we're having, and the deal size impact that we're having? And then we look at, for the teams, like how many hours, are they logging on client facing activity? How much revenue does that drive? So it's a little less because, you could have one big deal that drives a ton of revenue. And we can start to get revenue efficiency metrics for each team. And that helps us decide where, because we'll start to see pockets of the business where, the customers they're serving, they're more self-serve, right? Like the velocity side of our business. And we want to pull ourselves up and out of that. We're not generating enough. Our activity isn't bringing enough revenue for the business for us to be spending our time there. So we're starting to shift more to like just the revenue efficiency and revenue influence on the team, and using that as ways to kind of direct like where we want to increase our attach rate into the business. Because in like some cases we want to be, we want to essentially be getting out of that business. We don't want to necessarily be touching every small deal, but we do want to be on every large deal. So those are some of the things that we're looking at. I'd be
And
curious, Wendy, from your
yeah,
side. Yeah.
well, so certainly, we're with a new CRO, we're in the middle of creating our new KPIs to make sure we're paying attention to the right things. And we certainly look at technical win rate, like of course with the SE attached. We're looking at revenue with the SE attached. We have historically been a heavily volume-based business. We've already my team has worked with almost 2,000 customers so far this year. Which is a ton of volume when you consider my team is only 19 people, right? So we're very busy from that perspective. So but we are going through that exercise right now of where can we move people towards a more self-service model without an SE so we can become more efficient. And then there were some comments in the chat as well about demos. So I have in the past also created demo scorecards where that's used for manager coaching, right? To go through and help people with that coaching. We are creating a new effort on coaching in my business, and I probably will go back to demo scorecards. But the survey comment here about surveys after every demo, and then over time, everyone was giving 5 out of 5, and it became less meaningful. Something I have used in the past with success has been a survey of the AEs annually, just to get an understanding of that, because one thing we haven't touched on yet today is the partnership with our sales team, right? And how do we understand what we're doing well as servicing our AE counterparts, and where are the things where we're falling flat. We've done that survey as an overall team, and then choosing the SEs you've worked with, like. Now, of course, this was a pooled model, so it wouldn't make as much sense one-on-one to share that feedback directly. You would probably want to couch that feedback, but I think there's some things you can do there. And then one tool we haven't mentioned yet today is the PreSales Collective Slack. So the comment here about measurement on skills and your willingness to share, I think you would be amazing. Please use that put that in the PreSales Collective Slack. I should have said, like, as a leader, whenever I'm facing anything tough, the first place I'm going is into the PreSales Collective Slack, into the Leadership Collective Slack, and I'm looking to see what other things people have been talking about, what ideas, what things have they shared. So by all means, I do encourage everyone, please leverage the Slack as another resource in your toolbox. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome. Well, that was really great. And I think you'll find a lot of commentary in there around KPIs too. I do, in the time we have left, I do want to talk about career advancement. Let's make sure we're touching on that. So let's first just briefly talk about, how do you maintain and grow your network? Like, how outside of PreSales Collective is one way we could do that, but what are the other things that you do? And I can open that up to whoever wants to answer that.
I can go
Yeah.
first. I'll go
Okay,
first.
yeah,
We
there
both
we go.
have great,
Yeah.
a lot of the
Go
same
for it, Julie.
answers, but Pre-Sales Collective is great. So shout out the Pre-Sales Collective.
Yeah.
I've met so many great people and gotten so many great tips from everybody within the Pre-Sales Collective group. So it's been amazing. LinkedIn is also huge. You meet people that you don't necessarily work with, but have some of the same background, things like that, that you can, have your network with. And, being at Oracle, we work with a lot of partners. We work with a lot of third parties. We work with DocuSign. So I didn't know Leah, but we worked with DocuSign before I met Leah. So it was great. But, we work with a lot of partners and a lot of third party products when we sell our applications, such as DocuSign and some other ones. So I leverage those partnerships not only in a selling aspect, but from a network aspect. So if you're exposed to any of those applications that you bought or that you use in a sales environment, don't just use it during the sales environment. Use it as a growth and network, growing your network, because everybody is you can get opinions for, advice with, and it just expands the wealth of knowledge you're going to get from that aspect. So make sure you use that.
Great advice.
Yeah, no, that is awesome. I'll throw a couple more ideas out there. And sorry, Julie, I know it's Dreamforce week, right? Like industry conferences for me.
Right, conference. I agree. Mention
Yeah, have been like a
yeah.
great way.
Mhm.
Yeah, just to get out and meet people. And then I think I would say like targeting people, but like being intentional with, outreach to people that you want to know, or you want to expand your network. Like if you want to, collaborate or meet pre-sales leaders in similar companies to yours, right? You reach out to them and, explain like why you're looking to connect. I'll share, like, I get quite a few mentoring requests. And the ones that come like very organized and, here's what I'm looking to get out of it. I'd love to be able to, I recently had one where it's like, I'd love to be able to have 3 one-on-ones, and here are the things that I'd love to chat through with you. She almost like put a roadmap of like, here's the ask, here's how I think we can do it, and here's where I'm looking to get out of it. And it made it, and I immediately was like, this is gonna be mutually beneficial. I'm gonna learn a lot through this as well, versus just an empty like, hey, would you like to mentor? And I'm kind of shifting more to mentoring versus networking. But also one thing that has helped me, and it took me a little while, like we're so heads down with like tech and SaaS and software, a lot of us. I've actually gotten a lot of value from connecting with people and building my network outside of, I will say, software. So that's something to think about as well, especially if you're interested in becoming a leader and meeting with leaders from different industries. It's invaluable, right? A lot of us sometimes, like, we're always, not groupthink, but like I got some of my probably precious perspectives in the last year and a half from, very accomplished leaders that, honestly know nothing about how software organizations work.
Yeah.
And I'm watching the time, so I know.
Yeah, I know. Well, yeah. So one more question I wanted to make sure we got to was, it's either we're in performance review season or we're approaching performance review season. So if you could share your advice for people as they're entering that time, what advice do you have as you're writing your self-review, as you're preparing to have that conversation with your manager? What's your advice for everyone?
All right, Julie, I'll go first on this one.
Yeah, you can go ahead, because we finished performance reviews in August. So we're done. Go ahead, Leah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, what I look for is like a very tight, here's what I've accomplished. Like, especially if you have career journeys where like you're like understanding, here's where I am in my career, here's where I'm looking to go. And you can map back, you're doing the work yourself, not asking your manager to do it, of like, here's what I've accomplished, here are the measurable results. And you're connecting that to the like very specific goals that you hopefully set for yourself. And then you're continuing to set your goals and being very deliberate in what your asks are for development, whether it is that next promotion or you want to take on more, executive projects, leadership projects. But I think this is, it's critical to your brand, how you show up in your reviews. And I'll even share a recent example at DocuSign. I was interacting with our CEO on someone and something. It was a person he didn't know. And he said, send me his review. I want to see how, he was looking for what that person had, how their review from the previous year, because that was going to be his, assessment of out of the gate of his brand, his work ethic, all of that. So very important.
Right.
It's huge because sometimes you do stuff like work with PreSales Collective and your manager doesn't even know it. So it's very important, in my opinion, to make sure that you don't just write a bunch of paragraphs, right? Have what you've done, have the goals, have how you met those goals, worked on revenue, whatever, because all of us do a lot more than what our the daily work, right? Your daily assignments. There's things that go into that you might not necessarily know what they do, and it's important to really understand that. So I like that, Leah. I think it's important.
And I encourage you all to keep I keep a kudos folder. And especially if you've gotten kudos from a client or a sales rep or anything, like add that into your review. If you're not, and I have it, I will add it, but I don't always have it at hand. So help me do that. But yes, absolutely. There are so many things that, my team goes above and beyond just working deals. And of course, I want them to highlight, amazing things they've done on specific deals. But I want to know, like, hey, I trained, like I have an SE recently just dug in on learning Kubernetes, and not only did he do a training for my whole team, but for all of technical support. So that was an amazing lift that he did, and was very needed, right? So I love that so much. And certainly I encourage all of you, especially those of you that are looking to grow your career, looking to grow into leadership positions, to join us for Leadership Next week. I can't believe it's already time for that. It's so fun. It's a good, I'll put the link in the chat. We'd love to have you all join. But this has been a wonderful conversation today. Thank you so much, Julie and Leah, for joining us. Thank you to everyone for joining us today. Yes, we look forward to continued collaboration in Slack. And I wish you all the best as you close out 2024, whether that's your fiscal year or not. But hope to see you all again soon. Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks, Wendy. Thanks, Julie.
Thanks,
everyone.
Wendy. And thanks, PreSales Collective. Yes.
Thank you.